Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. And welcome back for tonight's second half. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it matters. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? For tonight's second half, we are going to discuss a little more into the NWO, DUMS, and alien conspiracy, but in reality, it's truth. Tonight, we are going to discuss Project Beta. Investigator, physicist, Paul F. Benowitz. The following are key mileposts established or discovered during the continuing scientific study concerning alien intervention and the result. Study limited solely to New Mexico. 2 years continuous recorded electronic surveillance and tracking with DF 24-hour-a-day data of alien ships within 60-mile radius of Albuquerque plus 6,000 feet motion picture of same daylight and night. Detection and disassembly of alien communication and video channels, both local, Earth, and near space. Constant reception of video from alien ship and underground base view screen. Typical alien, humanoid, and at times apparent Homo sapiens. A case history of an encounter victim in New Mexico, which led to communication link and discovery that apparently all encounter victims have deliberate alien implants along with obvious accompanying scars. The victim's implants were verified by X-ray and CAT scan. 5 other scar cases were also verified. Established constant direct communication with the alien using a computer and a form of hexadecimal code and with graphics and printout. This communication was instigated apparently after the U.S. base was vacated through an alien communication loop. The true underground base location was divulged by the alien and precisely pinpointed. Subsequent aerial and ground photographs revealed land pylons, ships on the ground, entrances, beam weapons, and apparent launch ports, along with aliens on the ground in electrostatically supported vehicles, charging beam weapons, also apparently electrostatic. Cross-correlation and matching by triangulation to official NASA CIR color infrared high-resolution films confirmed base location and resulted in revealing U.S. military involvement, yielding precise coordinates and the U.S. base layout. Prior alien communication had indicated military involvement and the fact that the United States Air Force had a ship, but due to studying alien psychology, this was ignored at the time. Subsequently, the alien communicated following verification with the CIR that there was indeed a ship, actually more than one, that 2 were wrecked and left behind and another built. This ship is automatic powered and flying. The alien indicated its basing location. It was learned, as stated, that 2 women and a boy near Austin, Texas were exposed to severe radiation at close range, and the ship was last seen going west with helicopters. In addition, the U.S. government was quietly picking up the medical expenses. Subsequent inspection of motion picture photographs taken during the study revealed that the U.S. ship, or one like it flying with the aliens, these match the CIR, where 2 can be seen on the ground, and in a later photograph taken on the ground after the base had been abandoned, So, in very brief form, the prologue to learning within reasonable accuracy what transpired prior to the end of 1979 or shortly thereafter. The computer communications and constant interaction with the alien in this manner without direct encounter was given a reasonably clear picture of the alien psychology, their logic and their logic methods, and their prime intent. It is important to note at the outset the alien is devious, employs deception, has no intent of any apparent peacemaking process, and is obviously does not adhere to any prior arrangement agreement. In truth, they tend to lie. However, their memory for lying is not long, and direct comparative computer printout analysis reveals this facts. Therefore, much drops through the cracks, so to speak, and from this comes the apparent truth. It is not the intent of this report to criticize or point fingers. Obviously, whoever made the initial agreement was operating on basic of logic and not that of the alien, and in doing so apparently walked innocently in time into a trap. The alien indicated that the Greys, apparently the group initially involved in this agreement, were still upset about the initial capture and subsequent death of the first 8 of their co-fellows. Another group, calling themselves in the computer language the Orange, their base is on the west slope of Mount Archuleta, directly west of the south end of the United States base, and near northwest of the apparent main landing area they call, in the computer language, the Diamond. This because from the distance it looks diamond-shaped in the photographs when looking somewhat southwest past the observation tower toward the ridged peak southeast of Mount Archuleta. This ridged peak has no name, so I will call it South Peak. The base extends north of this peak to the edge of the cliff down which goes a road past a large alloyed dome, 38 feet across the bottom and with a 20-foot hole in the top. Based upon some of the aerial photographs during which the alien was caught in the open and launching, some launches appear to be coming from the direction of that dome. I would guess it is an underground launch egress facility. In the NASA CIR, there is what appears to be a black limousine alongside the dome on a ramp, surprisingly. It is precisely the size of my 1979 Lincoln Town Car. Wheeled vehicles and what appear to be snowcats or caterpillars can be seen throughout the CIR. Car and truck tracks, trucks and jeeps. I do not believe aliens have wheels, humans do. Numerous roadblocks extend northward through the United States base along a well-maintained road, 30-some-odd feet wide, apparently gravel, near all weather, numerous turnarounds, and wheel tracks into launch preparation areas, with the ship's pads marked with a 26-foot X and servicing facility, tanks, etc. 2 domed polygon high-voltage buildings on the north, on the east side of the road, also an apparent foundation for another or helipad test stand, human housing, water tanks 32 feet across, and at one of the main roadblocks, 2 large vehicles parked across the road. Also at that point, another apparent black limousine with tracks leading to it and to the west of the road. All tracks and vehicles have been dimensioned and match military vehicles. If I were to make a guess, I would estimate the likelihood that the apparent black limousines are CIA. This is but a limited inventory of what was there September 8, 1978, including only as evidential matter for your perusal and confirmation. The road, which incidentally the natives, the tribal chief, reservation police, and highway patrolmen know nothing about, comes in off of a trail from the north. Starting at that trail, line of sight to a large plateau area, and the alloyed dome. The road in the middle of nowhere on Haikarilla Reservation is precisely 12,888 feet long airline distance. The total alien basing area, which apparently contains several cultures, now all under the Designation Unity in the computer language is approximately 3 kilometers wide by 8 kilometers long, multi-leveled. A conservative guess based upon the number of ships presently over this area and the number on the ground in the CIR photographs, the total alien population at this point is at least 2,000 and most likely more. The alien indicates more are coming or on their way. I will not attempt to speculate in this report as to how the initial U.S. contact was made, what transpired, nor how many were able to escape. The alien has communicated his account, and if totally true, it certainly is not palatable. Much detail has been omitted for further discussion if desired. However, the important is this: consistent computer communication, full online in February of this year, manual prior to that, conditions of morale, and a total insight into what makes the alien run. This is very valuable data. Number one, most importantly, the alien will allow no one to go without an implant, and after knowledge of it is wiped out. They simply will not allow it. All indications are that communication or language cannot result without the implant, with the exception of a binary and the computer. This would indicate a possible immediate threat or danger for anyone, military, Air Force, or otherwise, that has been on this base. They will not remember the implant in any case, the contactee here included. The reason for the implant is multiple for both language or communication by thought. There is no apparent language barrier with thought, and also complete absolute control by the alien through program by their beam or direct contact. I've tested this and found that during this programming, the person then has no memory of the act/conversation afterward. If this has happened to the military, I need not elaborate as the possible consequences. The victim's switch can be pulled at any time, and at the same time they are walking cameras and microphones if the alien chooses to listen in with the use of their beams. No classified area of any endeavor in the United States is inviolate under these conditions. However, realize the scars barely visible can be seen. All are exactly located and all are accessible by X-ray. Number 2. Also note that all of the aliens, humanoid alike, all must have implants. Without them, no direct communication is apparently possible. So, one can most generally, arbitrarily say that if a person states he or she communicated by thought with an alien, he or she most likely has been implanted. They may also claim to be overly psychic and be able to prove this again through the link transplant. He or she is given the information by the alien and does not realize. Most importantly, the alien, either through evolvement or because the humanoid is made, will exhibit tendencies for bad logic. Bad by Earth logic. So they are not infallible. In point of fact, they appear to have many more frailties and weakness than the normal Homo sapien. To the alien, the mind is key, and therein lies a great weakness, which will be discussed later. Number 4, they are not to be trusted. It is suspected if one was considered a friend, and if one were to call upon that friend in time of dire physical threat, the friend would quickly side with the other side. The computer indicates a comparison that no known Earth protagonist, Russian or otherwise, exhibits these tendencies to any major degree, indicating the danger involved in making any kind of agreement with these aliens, at least of this species. Number 5, the alien does kill with the beam generally. Results on a human will exhibit a 3 to 4 centimeter purple circle. If done from the rear on one or both shoulders, the result on cattle are the same, essentially exhibiting purple beneath the hide, with burnt circles on the outside. Number 6, cattle mutilations are the other side of the coin and will not be delved into here, although they are part of the overall. It appears the humanoids are fed by a formula made from human or cattle material or both, and they are made from the same material by gene splicing and the use of a female encounter's victim's ovum. The resultant embryos are referred to by the aliens as an organ. Time of gestation to full use as a utility ready to work appears to be about 1 year. A year in alien time? I don't know. Solution: I doubt there is an immediate total cure per se. However, they must be stopped, and we have to get off dead center before we find time has run out. They are picking up and cutting, as the aliens call it, many people every night. Each implanted individual is apparently ready for the pull of their switch. Whether all implants are totally effective, I cannot predict, but conservatively, I would estimate at least 300,000 or more in the United States, and at least 2 million, if not more, worldwide. Weaponry and inherent weakness. Weaponry is one of the keys, and in the alien's present state, we can prepare an effective offense. One tends, at the outset, I did, to look at their machines and say, there is no defense or offense. One is overwhelmed by their speed, apparent capability of invisibility and cloaking, and other covert capabilities not discussed at this time. In particular, the beam weapons are themselves a direct threat, and obviously one that must be seriously considered, but not overly so. Let us first look at just what this weapon is. It is an electrostatic weapon with plasma generating voltage and an internal storage device. It is pulse powered. The beam, totally effective in the atmosphere, can be loaded with hydrogen or oxygen. Range: average ground weapons, maximum 2 kilometers if it is dry, capable of sustaining just so many full power discharges. Slow leakage occurs continuously, therefore, they must be recharged periodically. If it is raining, the weapon becomes ineffective and is swamped, thus discharged. The range is nearly totally lost at that point. On the discs and saucers, the weapon is generally on the left side or top center and has a maximum range of 200 meters, at which point it will plow a trench in the desert soil. When fired, it fires both to the front and to the back equally. Why? Because of the mode and methods of flight. If equilibrium is not maintained, the saucer will spin out. Hand weapons: estimate based upon visible damage observed. Not too much velocity nor staying power, but a short range deadly, less than a 45 cal automatic. At 1 meter range, estimate of beam temp 1600 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, it can vaporize metal. Apparently the discs and weapons operate from a storage source. In time, without periodic recharge, this source is depleted. The design they traded to us was at least 30 years old, employing an automatic source. Possibly they may still have some. It would appear so. Their staying power is obviously much longer. Aircraft helicopter vulnerability. Any of our aircraft, helicopters, missiles, or any air flight vehicle can be taken down instantly with no use of weaponry. The alien simply needs to do no more than make one invisible pass, and their bow wave or screen or both will take the airlift vehicle down. The pilot obviously will not even know what hit them. For humans on the ground, the alien can use weapons or bow waves. The partial pressure envelope can hit with the power of a tornado. Shock raise time and G-forces instantaneously. However, they dare not hit the craft physically because they are fragile and, in fact, under slow flying conditions within our atmosphere, hold a very tenacious position. Without power, balance, or equilibrium, they lose it. In brief, these are apparent capabilities observed and gleaned through the computer communication and observation. You may know these, however, they are directly related to the last and final portion of this report. What can be done? 1. Because the alien apparent logic system, a key decision cannot be made without higher clearance. All are under the control of what they call the keeper, yet it would appear this is not the final say. Therefore, dependent upon urgency, delays of as long as 12 to 15 hours can occur for a decision. How short/long this time frame under battle conditions may be, I don't know. Because of this apparent control, individual instantaneous decision making by alien is limited. If the plan goes even slightly out of balance or context, they become confused. Faced with this possibility, the humanoids would be the first to break and run. The same applies to their mission master plan, if one can call it that. If pushed out of context, it will come apart. They will be exposed to the world, so they will possibly run before they fight in the open. They definitely do not want that to happen. Psychologically, at present, their morale is down. Near disintegration. There is pronounced dissension in the ranks. Even with the humanoids, communication can be encouraged. This, not a necessity to expound upon. This other than to say because of their own internal vulnerability, mind-wise to each other, therein lies a prime weakness. Inter-echelon or individual trust appears to be totally lacking, so suspicion of each other is rampant. They are highly segregated as to levels. A low dare not conflict with a medium or high, or it literally means death. Death being to a humanoid deprogramming, or in the end, perhaps total physical death. They appear to be totally death-oriented, and because of this, absolutely death-fear-oriented. This is a psychological advantage. The computer also gives indications of real possibility or adverse a grounding program. Number 2, consider their ships. Most, if not all, run on charge. The sources deplete, and so depends upon size. Depletion can occur from some within a week or less. Ships can replenish each other, but only up to a charge balance. This is done with antennae-like extensions, and the charge is distributed, observing conservation of energy laws. They can replenish from power lines, but again, only to a point. So time of flight is limited. Deprived of their base recharge capability, it is indicated that all ships will come down within 6 months to a year, unless they can get transported out. That is, back to their prime launch ship. The discs and saucers have no general control fly of space because of their mode and flight. Therefore, deprived of home base, it is not likely they will survive. Their capability in power survival outlasts their capability in food or formula survival. If they do not get the formula/food within a certain period of time, they will weaken and die. In the case of Mount Archuleta and South Peak, they are dependent upon the Navajo River for water supply, and water to them is total life. Without water, they have no power. Without power, no oxygen or hydrogen to service the ships and weapons. No water to sustain the organs and feeding formula. Simple? Not really. However, there is a water intake, and there is a dam upstream that can be totally cut off and the water rerouted to Chama, New Mexico. Should this occur, at least 3 of the internal bases will go down. They could possibly go atomic periodically, but obviously have problems without cooling. Once the bases are pressed on a large scale, all discs and saucers will go airborne immediately. Troops on the ground can gain terrain cover and quite a degree. It is rough terrain. Number 3, our need is for a weapon, workable, and preferably not like the aliens. I believe unless the alien is caught unawares with their screen up, their weapons are equal, so they are like children pillow boxing. There can be no result. The weapon must penetrate their screen, and it must also penetrate the ground. I believe I have that weapon. 2 small prototypes have been funded and constructed by my company. Tests conducted to date indicate they do work and work rather well considering their size. Because of this weapon's present status and nature, the theory will not be explained here. However, the weapon appears to do 2 things at very low power. The discs within its range begin to discharge, and when exposed to a weapon beam, to counteract, they must apply more power and, in doing so, consume power. Again, conservation of energy laws strictly apply. It's also believed in an early stage, based upon present testing, that the weapon, when full on and full size, will kill and bring down discs at substantial range. The alien weapons operate substantially the same as their discs, using a charge source and a charge distribution. So, in the same sense, it's indicated that this weapon design will pull their charge weapons down very rapidly. The range of my weapon exceeds that of their present weapons, and in this most sophisticated form can be readily computer controlled to allow extreme rapid tracking and lock-on regardless of speed, along with electric wobulation of the beam. It is a beam weapon, and even at its early stage of miniature prototype testing and development, it indicates eventual superiority to their weapons. Number 4, initial logistics would indicate a plan sequentially implemented as follows. This plan does not include all requirements and preparation safety measures to be employed by ground forces. However, if Air Force intelligence desires to pursue the approaches suggested in a report, each significant requirement will be discussed in depth. An attack must be directed near entirely on ground for obvious reasons. One would, if familiar with the alien capability, indicate that vehicle ignition problems will be encountered. This is precisely true. However, the reason for this is not mysterious, but based upon good, solid laws of physics, and are known. From experience gained through my study, it is now known how to prevent this from happening, and will be discussed in detail at some later date. All electrical and electronic equipment must be hardened using these specific techniques prior to implementation. Because of the known capability of alien, by use of scanning beams, to know in advance details of planning, only the initial outline is presented in this report. Again, through the communication interaction with the alien, testing is simultaneously done upon its facet. Eavesdropping and ways to abort this capability has been tested and proven. The program would be instigated in phases. First phase, planning and logistics, would be included continued implementation and testing of a final weapon prototype through the pre-production stage. Production of at least 50 minimum quality should be planned. However, backup spares should also be included. On a full-time shift basis, it is estimated that at least 1 year or less would be required to arrive at the pre-production stage. The term would be organized by Thunder Scientific to accomplish this. The key work is now and would be done by an associated company, Benowitz Labs Ltd. Specific attack phases would be incorporated. Number 1, the first procedure would be to close the gates of the dam above the Navajo River. This dam would be held closed for a duration. Internal to the only cave, there is a small dam for water storage. Its capacity is small. There is also a discharge outlet downstream that could be closed, causing wastewater to back up into the caves. The water is vacuum pumped, apparently by some electrostatic means, from the river. At close range, the weapon will take out this capability. 2. Once deprived totally of water for a minimum period of 4 weeks, conditions in the alien bases under discussion will have badly deteriorated. Psychological shock is extremely effective. With the alien, total advantage can be taken by instantaneous action or planned deviation from the norm. At least 3 bases will go down. Number 3, if they follow their normal strategic pattern, as when passed previously, they will launch most, if not all, ships. 4, prior to the implementation of water deprivation, The weapons should be deployed at strategic hardening locations and activated in a certain pre-planned manner determined by final weapon coordinate locations. 5. This will put an immediate power drain upon those airborne and the alien weapons ringing their bases. Number 6. Because of the inherent psychological aspect of the alien, Benowitz probably refers to the alien in singular sense because of a collective hive mind, much can be done in the open with no attempt to preserve secrecy. Much of what is done can be of a diversionary nature. Under most circumstances, they will attempt to harass but will not openly attack. Number 7. Throughout and prior to this, the open computer communications link will be operational for continued psychological interrogation. 8. At some point in time, again resting upon battle status, the deployment of offensive forces will begin. This deployment should be done in a near instantaneous manner under certain special conditions that can be discussed. 9. The weapon system should be kept powered up throughout. In this manner, the discs will be made to stay airborne. They cannot land in the interval the system is powered. 10. When the weapon is used in one specific power mode, the addition to continuous discharge on the discs that are airborne and ground-based weapons. The mind confusion and disorientation will build in those personnel at the base and underground. At the end of 4 to 5 weeks or less, all weapons should be totally discharged and power out of bases. Most personnel, if not all, will be totally incapacitated. The feeding formula will be down and its crucial processing ruined. All alien embryos should be dead and all hydrogen and oxygen consumables depleted. 11. Based upon data gathered on a miniature prototype weapon, the full power weapons should have no problem holding off the discs. In many cases, some will break within the first 48 hours without being directly hit. Number 12. At that point, standard weapon technology and logistics can come into play and be used to an extent of destruction desired at the direction of those in charge. 13. The communications can be used throughout to determine status and near the end to attempt to instigate surrender. If no response results, then they should simply be closed in and waited out. Summary. It is important to note that the initial implementation of the computer communications was not instigated for the purpose of taking to the alien for a fun of it, but was deliberately instigated to use as a tool to study in-depth, long-term, without physical confrontation, the strengths and weaknesses of the alien. The weapon theory and prototypes were built to capitalize upon the test 2 key and prominent weakness discovered. This in-house funded program has been expensive, in excess of $200,000, done on behalf of our nation and handled in the best representative manner humanly possible. 1. The prime and weakest area discovered, probed, and tested is exactly what they have used, thinking it is their key strength, that being manipulation of and control of their mind. Not only of command, but also humanoid, manipulated in reverse. Psychologically and by the language computer, and due to the extreme of mental distortion and incapacity caused by the weapon, it has been found that this facet is for them a disaster and directly vulnerable integrated weakness. 2. Though their ships are magnificent, they are also weak solely because of the method and unique mode of flight. They do not have a stable flight platform. Charge distribution can also be discharged. The weapon does this even in its present miniature prototype state. It is not the purpose of this report to imply that the overall problem would be solved with the capture of these bases. Obviously, it will not be, but it is firmly based beginning with the high degree of rated project success ratio. It is not intended to imply the alien will not fight. They may, though their inclination is generally the opposite. This basing area is key. Without it, their mission is in very deep trouble. It is noted that these are not the only bases on the Earth. There are others. With a conservative estimate using typical logic support numbers, it is unrealistic to say there are 50,000 aliens with the biosphere of Earth and near space. Some of us will be lost in the endeavor that is obvious, however done now. The advantage is gained along with new additional technology to prepare for the next stage. The key to overall success is they totally respect force, and with them, the most effective method is to stubbornly continue to pick and pull at their defense with no let up. Faced with the total loss of a base that has taken years to construct, it is believed that their mission will be grossly weakened and badly slowed. As Americans, in this particular instance, we must realize that we, in this case, cannot rely upon our inherent moral principles to provide the answer. Negotiation is out. This particular group can only be dealt with no differently than one must deal with a mad dog. That method they understand. Therefore, in eliminating this threat, we most certainly cannot be called the aggressor, because we have literally been invaded. In final conclusion, A, they cannot under any circumstances be trusted. B, they are totally deceptive and death-oriented and have no moral respect for humans or human life. C, no negotiation, agreement, nor peaceful compromise can be settled upon in any way. D, no agreement signed by both parties will ever be adhered to nor recognized and respected by the alien, though they may attempt to make us believe otherwise. And E, absolutely no quarter can be allowed under any circumstances. And that, my friends, is Project Beta. And probably the only way we'd ever be able to get our Earth back from these things that are living in these subterranean cities. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Just another article that was, not an article, just another piece of evidence that was sent to me via email. Sorry, I'm completely exhausted. I don't know what is going on with me lately. I cannot sleep lately. I just lay there thinking about things. Anyway, guys, be safe and enjoy the summer, but be hyper vigilant when you're in the woods and around strange places. With that, may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.